Lewis and Clark State Historic Site is celebrating 20 years.
Hi everybody, my name is Brad Winn. I'm the site superintendent here at the Lewis and Clark State Historic Site. So you've joined us this year over our 20th anniversary collection of videos, kind of telling some of the history of the historic site, its development, the early history of the Lewis and Clark Society of America, and just really how we came to be here and open in 2003, technically, again, if you remember, November of 2002. So we thought we'd wrap up this season with some of the teased stories that kind of might make you chuckle about just how this place got finished and built. I'm standing here in the main exhibit gallery, and of course the entire gallery is centered around our wonderful replica of the keelboat. It's 55 feet long, if you don't know. It's 32 and a half feet high to the top of the mast. But people have asked me, how in the heck did we get this thing inside the building? So our good friend Butch Bovier was the gentleman that built the boat. He is from Ottawa, Iowa, and he works at the Lewis and Clark State Park in Ottawa, Iowa. And he was the one that was tasked on reconstructing our keelboat for us. First of all, the boat was delivered way ahead of schedule. In other words, the exhibits weren't quite ready to be built, and so we were just finishing some of the interior work. And so when Butch asked for the boat to be delivered, he was ready to send it here to Hartford. We didn't really have a space for it. So my first job was to try to figure out where we're going to store a 55-foot long crate. And as it turned out, we reached out to our friends at the Piasol Motor Fuels. If you don't know, there are a lot of oil refineries here in the Hartford area. And so we looked for a truck bay that would be able to hold a 55-foot long crate. The trouble was, how are we going to insure something like that? And when I called one of the local insurance companies, by the way, Lewis and Clark Insurance, had to be Lewis and Clark Insurance. When we called them, they said, let me get this straight. You want to hire me to insure your 55-foot long wooden boat that will be stored in a motor fuel bay? I'm not sure that we can cover that. So at any rate, we worked it all out and the boat was stored. But when the boat was finally to be delivered, we had just one section of windows left to be installed. So if you look behind me here, and we'll get you a better video of that, but if you look over here to my left, you can see that this little small square section was the last section of windows that were to be installed. And so when we brought the boat in, it was roughly about a 9-foot crate, and we had just about 11 feet for that particular window. So it took us quite a while to get the boat brought in. We inched all the way into the building. And just about maybe 3/4 of the way in, one of the workers that was here finishing up some of the duct work here in the gallery asked, hey, how do you know which end is which? And you know what? It occurred to us that we really didn't know. So sure enough, we got a Sawzall, brought it down, cut off a section of the crate, and wouldn't you know, the boat was brought in backwards. So we had it 3/4 of the way in the building at that time. We had to move it all the way out. And as would probably be the thing that happened, my boss came down that day just to see how things were progressing. So here I was trying to get the boat back out of the building behind schedule for its delivery. It was winter, which means the building was supposed to be sealed. We were already beginning to test some of the HVAC systems. We had the boat backed out. He helped us out that day. My boss, Bob Coomer, came in, helped us back the boat back out, turn it around, which again, not easy, 55 feet long, bring it in and deliver it here successfully into the interpretive center. So we're grateful for the fact that the boat is pointed in the right direction, heading west just like Lewis and Clark. We've got some other fun stories to tell you. We'll pick up at a different location. When the building officially opened in December, the exhibits weren't even finished. We had several exhibit panels that had yet to be delivered, but we wanted to go ahead and proceed with the grand opening to give us 1 year ahead of the bicentennial that was to begin in December of 2003. So when the grand opening was here, a lot of dignitaries, as you might imagine, a lot of folks, a lot of elected officials, and so everything was going to happen in the theater. We actually set up a live camera to show for our overflow audience in the main exhibit gallery to let people know what the grand opening ceremony was going to be like. A lot of our society members were there. A lot of our staff were there at that particular day. So when the event began, Jerry Costello, who was our U.S. congressman at the time, Congressman Costello was instrumental in making sure that we secured not only the state funds, but more importantly, the federal funds that matched those state funds to complete our $8 million project here to build the interpretive center. So Congressman Costello obviously was going to be here, a part of that grand opening. We've got some pictures of him when he was here for some of our early tours. But Congressman Costello was interested in seeing finally the boat. He hadn't been here for a couple of months, and so he wanted to get a little bit of a sneak peek. Well, lo and behold, we actually had a volunteer that was here that day named Ray Cottingham. Ray was about 6'4", big, imposing guy, and Ray was our doorkeeper standing right there at the top of those steps, making sure that no one got access to the interpretive center building, or specifically the gallery ahead of the grand opening. Well, here comes Congressman Costello, asked to come down into the gallery. Ray denied him permission, our U.S. congressman. And he said, well, you know who I am? And he said, I know exactly who you are, Congressman, but I've got a job to do, and you will not get in this gallery until the exhibit is officially open, which I thought was hilarious. I think Ray was pretty tickled about the fact that he got to tell Congressman Costello that he wasn't going to be allowed to come in and see the exhibits. So throughout the grand opening, a lot of guest speakers and so on, a lot of important individuals. Another funny story about that, our governor at the time, I think shows maybe the importance of the use of a comma. When he was reading his remarks and thanking those individuals, he said, I'd like to thank the mayor of Hartford, no pause, and went straight into Brad Winn. Well, I think he was mentioning he would like to thank the mayor of Hartford and Brad Winn, but he didn't stop. So my parents after the meeting asked when I had got elected to be mayor of Hartford. I had to apologize to the mayor at that point, Bill Moore, and say, look, Mayor, I'm sorry, I didn't get rightfully elected, but we'll thank the governor anyway for his kind remarks.
So when we had our official soft opening in mid-November of 2002, I strung a ribbon across the door here for our official ribbon cutting ceremony, if you want to call it official. It was basically just about 6 or 7 volunteers and 5 or so of our staff. It was Cindy Upchurch, Bill Higgins, Dennis Nichols, and Tommy, who was a part-time seasonal worker that worked with us. So we didn't have enough scissors at the time, so I made sure that everybody had at least on the staff something they could use to cut. So instead of scissors, we used some loppers on the rest of that. We got to have a picture for that. But when we opened the building in November of 2002, as I mentioned, the building wasn't quite finished. Another recollection that I think of is if I look at the parking lot out here, I remember actually during the bicentennial on the official day of the event, so May 14th of 2004, so it's departure day, after the rain finally let up, we had this elaborate plan of people that were going to park somewhere farther away. If you remember the old Kmart in Wood River, they would park there, and there was a shuttle bus. Well, one of our first shuttle buses that came through here got stuck, literally stuck on the curb at the turnaround. So I actually had to run over to the shop, get our trusty front end loader tractor, and pull the shuttle bus off the curb. So multi-purpose day, multi-purpose site, but we kind of do it all here at Lewis and Clark State Historic Site. So we hope that you've really enjoyed some of these videos and our recollections from the 20th anniversary of our site. Bottom line is, folks, we couldn't do it without all of you. Your tireless support over these last 20 years. We've well exceeded 1 million visitors here at the site. Time and time again, I get folks that come down and say, this is my 2nd, 3rd, 4th visit. We know when we have events like this past week with Thanksgiving, that you come back every year to bring your family down to our little historic site here in the River Bend. So we're so thankful for all of your support. We're thankful to the Lewis and Clark Society, and I'm personally thankful to all my staff and volunteers who've done an amazing job over the last 20 years, making us our gem, not only here in the River Bend, but one of the top tier Lewis and Clark historic sites on the entire national Lewis and Clark Historic Trail. Thanks for coming with us this year on this journey, and we'll look forward to some 2004/2024 bicentennial stories that'll come next year. Thanks much.